plant queens, welcome back to my channel. I'm Saab and I want to thank you for being here and watching my videos and liking and subscribing and commenting and all that stuff. Today we are actually filming, or I'm filming, one of my favorite types of videos to make, which is the monthly plant haul. So I think this month I got a bunch of very small plants, but I think, let me just check my list, it's right here on my laptop. I think a lot of these are wishlist plants. Yeah, that's right. So most of them are small, which there's nothing wrong if you get small cuttings or tiny plants to start with, because first, they're cheaper, second, they're easier to trade for, and third, you get to watch the plant grow, which I think is very exciting. Plus, full plants are really expensive right now. Okay, so with that said, let's just get right into it. The first two plants that I will be talking about, I got from a trade with my friend Bianca, and they are both wishlist Hoyas, so that's not surprising at all that I'm starting with Hoyas, right? This is a very cute, very tiny Hoya Rotundiflora. So if you've never heard of this Hoya before, it's unique because it looks like a rectangle. Well, obviously not, literally a rectangle, but rectangular enough that the leaves are so unique from the other types of Hoyas. So this actually was sent to me as a cutting, and it was in my prop box for a while, and now it's well rooted enough that I can put it in its own tiny container. I'm trying to slowly transition it out of the prop. Why am I putting it there? I'm trying to slowly transition it out of the prop box so that it can acclimate to my normal conditions. I'll probably release like a prop box tour and tutorial video next week if you guys are interested in that. But yes, I do have an entire process for cuttings where if I put them in a prop box, I slowly acclimate them to my home environment, if that makes sense. But yeah, that is the Hoya Rotundiflora, and she's just so adorable. If you like that one, I think you will like this next one even better, because sorry Rotundiflora, but this Hoya is much cuter in my opinion, at least. So this is a Hoya Angloriana, and look at how adorable that is. I also got it as a bunch of cuttings. It was the same process, and this was on my wish list. I really enjoy tiny leafed Hoyas, even though big leaves are pretty great too. Like, I really love my Sarawak, but there's something about small Hoya leaves that just hits different. It has some new growth up there, as you can see, which is just super exciting for me. Okay, the next one I actually have to stand up to get it, so give me a second. So this next one, I think, has been on my wish list for ever since I got into Hoyas. I know this particular plant or this particular Hoya is quite readily available, like in the US and I think in the UK as well. But here they've only started popping up. So this is my Hoya Linearis. It's in hanging makeshift DIY pot. And this all did come from cuttings, and it is currently in pawn. So you can see, can you see that new growth up there? Not sure how to show you that without the pot falling, but yeah, you can see all of that new growth, and this happened pretty fast. So I did start all of these in like a prop box, so in a super humid environment, and now it's stable enough that I can pot it up, and it's just hanging along with my other Hoyas up there. And you know what? I heard that this Hoya is very difficult for some people, but I think that's not the case for me. So far at least, fingers crossed, right? And I think it's because that it's in a pretty cold spot. Correct me if I'm wrong if you have one of these, but I don't think they enjoy like too much warmth, like they tend to melt. So I noticed that the cuttings that I placed in like my warmer propagation areas, like in the restroom with the grow light where it's really humid and really hot. By hot, I mean like 30 degrees Celsius, 28 to 30 degrees Celsius all the time. Because here in my room, obviously, it's more human conditions, like 25 to 28 degrees Celsius at any given time, and at night it drops when the AC is on. So I think it's really been enjoying just being in a cooler environment. But yes, it's just so cute. I love this plant so much, and it's super fuzzy, and I can tell when I need to water it because you can kind of bend these noodles. Like, this needs water now apparently because I can bend the little noodle things on it. It's so cute. It's just like a hairy noodle Hoya. Okay, so next we have, it's in here actually, so I don't know how I'm gonna show you. I guess I can take it out. It's in a prop box because it's propagations. I bought this plant, I split it with a friend, so I already took my parts. I'll just take out one bit here. I think it's the best bit to show you. So this is a, this is a Hoya Biakensis splash. I don't think this is as popular as like the other Hoyas on this list, but I really love this Hoya, and I fell in love with it the first moment I saw it. Like the leaves, at least from what I've seen like on Instagram photos and on things for sale as well. Just gonna put it back where it's propagating. This will be in the tour next week, by the way, my prop box tour. This is one of many that I have. Anyway, so the Hoya Biakensis, the photos I've seen, the leaves always seem to be like a light green, and the splash is always very dominant. Like I haven't seen lightly splashed Hoya Biakensis. Is always like aggressive splashing, which we love, right? And what else can I say about this plant? I am still rooting it, so I don't have much to say, just that it was on my wish list and I have it now. Oh my gosh, this next one. Okay, are we gonna do this next one already? I think we should just get it out of the way because you guys should know that I got a Hoya Polyneura. Oh my god, I still can't believe that I have this plant. Like, you should have seen my, wait, let's appreciate this first before I ramble on about it. Look at how beautiful that is. Like, wow, I cannot believe I have this plant. You guys should have been there when I got this. I was just, see, I'm still speechless. This is made possible by a friend of mine, Kate. If you're watching, thank you again. She kindly sold me part of her plant, of her precious, lush, beautiful Polyneura. Now, I know this is pretty rare, or commercially rare in a lot of different parts of the world. Here especially, like, I haven't seen this Polyneura a lot in this country, and again, like the Linearis, it has been on my wish list for the longest time, and honestly I didn't think I would get it until maybe 5 years later, but here it is in my hand. So this has been with me since the start of the month actually, so I have had quite a bit of time with it, and it is currently in pond, sitting in my terrarium right here because I have heard that they like higher humidity, and so far it's doing pretty well. I don't water it a lot just because this retains a lot of moisture, or this helps it retain a lot of moisture. But yes, I mean, it hasn't done anything except be pretty, but that's really all I can ask from this plant, to be honest. It's so beautiful. I think we should start calling this one Hoya, like mermaid Hoya, instead of fishtail Hoya, because mermaid Hoya just sounds so much better. So the next plant actually is a Hoya. I think it's a common theme for this video, but this is again a Hoya that's very common in other parts of the world. You can get like very lush hanging baskets of this Hoya, but it only recently kind of flooded the market in this country, so the prices are getting to be really low, which is a good thing. And it's a good thing for me because I can finally afford to get one of these. This is a Hoya Bella. Wow, look at how beautiful and lush this is. It's amazing, and it needs water again. This is such a thirsty Hoya. I mean, I just got this maybe last week or this week, I don't even know. And it's already shown me that it's a really thirsty Hoya. It dries out super fast in this medium, which is great, but also it needs a lot of water, which, you know what, if she's this beautiful, I don't really mind. So I don't know, this is one of the simpler yet really beautiful Hoyas. And I have taken like a ton of propagations from this. Let me see if I can get, no, it's not here. I have it in a jar, just rooting in water, so that I can put it back up top here, because that doesn't look good. Although I only usually see this part because it's trailing down. Yeah, I still want a more fuller pot of this, but for now I am just enjoying how adorable this is. And it is in soil because I don't know, I don't mind it being in soil. I might transfer it over to pond eventually. I'm still thinking about it. I just don't want to shock it. Like I said, I did receive it just this week, I think, so I will give it some more time to get used to being around me before I totally stress it out by putting it in my medium of choice. So that is my Hoya Bella. But next, oh, we're out of Hoyas already. Okay, so that was it for the Hoyas. The next is actually a bunch of different things, so let's just start with this one. So this next one, again, totally common, totally accessible in other parts of the world, but ironically, and I'll explain why, not here. So this is an Epipremnum Cebu blue. Look at how beautiful. Oh my goodness, that looks so good on screen, on camera. Wow, that's like, you can really see how blue that is. Anyway, so the Cebu in Epipremnum Cebu blue is actually a place in the Philippines, like here. And it's still difficult to get. This is the tissue cultured version. So I think, okay, if you are knowledgeable on this subject, please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. But I think the original plant came from here and then it was tissue cultured. So this is the tissue cultured version of the original plant. And that's how it kind of spread in the markets abroad. And that means that we here in the Philippines didn't have access to this version. And I've been specifically looking for the tissue cultured version because the original version from this country is actually quite different. I wish I could show you, but my dad saw the original version and really wanted it. So a lot of people actually like the original version compared to this because it does have darker foliage, longer leaves, I think, and also, I don't know, it just looks and feels very different from the tissue cultured one. The tissue cultured one is lighter, kind of, the blue hue is more apparent, in my opinion at least. And the biggest difference, and I've asked some friends who have both as well, this one grows like crazy compared to the original one. So I've had this for, I mean, just this month, and I got it as 3 leaves. Look at that now. I mean, that is a ton of growth and it keeps pumping out new leaves. I don't know if you can see that back there. Yeah, you can see that. So it pumps out leaves like crazy compared to the original one, which is just a bit slower. Not to hate on the OG one, by the way. If you guys prefer that and if you know that one and you love that one compared to this, like, you do you. It's fine, totally fine to prefer one plant over another. Just in my opinion, the tissue cultured version of this particular plant turned out a little bit better than the original one. The next one was also on my wish list. All of these have been on my wish list, by the way. I know I made like a commitment to only get plants on my wish list, and I think I'm sticking to that so far. Except for cacti and succulents, which I just went a little crazy. Anyway, this next one is a Piper nigrum variegatum. So this is actually from a trade with my friend Tony. I've mentioned her a lot on this channel. And she actually got me like a full plant. She gave me her entire plant. And that base cut or the bottom cut is with my parents now. I kept the more variegated version for myself, because it's really hard to find versions of these plants on the market where the variegation is good. Or, you know, if the variegation is good, it'll be ridiculously expensive. So I kept this part for myself. It's rooting right now in moss. Why did I put this in moss? Oh, because Pipers, in my experience, I had the ornatum, or was it crocatum before, the pink one. In my experience, they don't like a long-term, at least from what I've observed. They tend to rot like quickly after a month or so of being lega, it will usually start rotting, and I'm not sure why. So I've just put this in moss for now. I think it's a pretty safe medium to try. I haven't tried pon, but I probably will eventually once it gets more established roots. So all that said, this has been a wishlist plant for quite some time, and I'm happy to finally have it. So thanks again, Tony, for this. And speaking of succulents, in my video, here my cacti and succulent collection, I mentioned that I forgot one of them, and here she is. This is a kalanchoe Eriophylla. There's a common name for it, but I forgot. Snow something. I forgot. So it'll be obvious if you watch that video, and you'll know like why I love this succulent. First, it's a kalanchoe. Second, look at how fuzzy that is. Like, how fuzzy that looks on camera is how fuzzy and soft it is in real life. Like, this is probably in my top 5 favorite succulents just because of how cute it is. So it is just in pon, and it's growing pretty well. This is a bunch of cuttings. Again, I like to do this with my plants. If I receive a tall plant, I'll chop it up into a bunch of cuttings and stick it in pon. And that's what I did with this one. So it's like a more full, but look at those cute baby leaves. Can you see that? Oh, that's so adorable. Look at that. Okay, so that is the kalanchoe Eriophylla. So the next 2 plants I can't actually show you. Is that correct? Yes, I can't show you because the first one I don't want to touch. It's a cutting in my terrarium. I'll insert some footage here right now, but this was actually next to me here. It was my Hoya terrarium, but I've turned it into my Begonia terrarium with a bunch of other things for the meantime while I collect more begonias to put in there. But yes, this is now my begonia terrarium, and here you will see my Begonia masoniana river. I'm not sure that's the correct ID. If I find it online, I will put it up on the screen, but if it is just masoniana river, then I will just put that. So I got this cutting from a trade, and I'm not sure how well this will translate on camera, but this is just a super stunning begonia. Like, you will see the spikiness on the leaves and how deep and dark chocolatey like the actual leaf is. Sorry, I said leaves, there's only one leaf. So this is actually kind of making me nervous because the leaf is just getting droopier and droopier. And I did see recently someone posted on Instagram that this takes a while to propagate. Like, hers took about 3 months to propagate from a single leaf. So fingers crossed that it doesn't take that long. Or if it does, I just hope it doesn't die. Like, I hope I have a plant of this in 3 months. So if this is the last time you ever see this begonia, I hope not. If it dies, I will probably just buy a big lush pot of this, because now that I've seen it in person, then I know it's just as impressive in person compared to Instagram, and I need it in my life, always. So this next one is actually in my prop box, and it is not very impressive. Believe it or not, this is a Syngonium mojito. I got this online from overseas, actually from Indonesia, and it did not arrive in the best conditions. I was supposed to make a video on how to rehab or how to care for plants that you import from a different country, but the footage got messed up and I got too annoyed to try again the next day. I will definitely make that video still, because at least, I mean, the upside of this is I have more experience rehabbing plants now with this mojito, because as you will see in the footage, there is one tiny baby leaf coming out, so it's not completely dead, and I'm glad I didn't throw it out. I will try to look for a photo of it when it arrived to me. You'll see how terrible it looked, but I saw there was a bit of green in the stem still, and as long as there's green, then there's hope. Okay, I think we're down to our last one. And to be honest, this has been one of the more exciting plants for me in a long time. Like, I would say, as excited as I was about the Polyneura, that's how I felt about this plant. And it's not a plant on my wish list, and it's not something I was expecting, and it's not something I bought. So, I'm just gonna show you guys. This is a sport variegated Syngonium batik. So if you are familiar with sport variegation and how that works, then you will understand why I love this plant. I didn't buy this like this. This was a plant that I got for free, actually, from a friend of mine, which I then gave to my boyfriend's mom. And then I noticed it growing in her garden. This leaf popped out. And then I thought, oh well, that usually will sometimes happen. That will sometimes happen, like a random spot of variegation will show up. This was a considerable amount. So I said, if the next one still has variegation, then there's a possibility that it will be stable. It will be a stable sport variegation. Well, not completely stable, but I mean, I can maintain the variegation. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the next leaf that came out. So you can see there's spots of variegation up there and also like a small chunk down here. And it's not even about the monetary value for me, it's just how unique and unusual this plant is that I'm so happy to have this. Can you tell? Like, I love this plant. And it's currently just in water. There's some new root coming out, and it did have a considerably long aerial root, so I'm pretty sure it'll be fine. Syngoniums are quite hardy in general, so I'm sure I won't have a problem. I will update you guys on like the next leaf. I don't see one popping out yet because I want to see if the variegation continues, and if it doesn't, that'll be sad, but I mean, at least we had this experience with it. So I think that's it for this video. I hope you liked the plants that you saw today. Let me know if you have any of these or if you have any advice for me for some of these, because they are pretty new in my collection. I'll put another video up here for you to watch, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next week. Bye!